Nation, welcome back to another episode of Separation Nation, where we try to bring you content to show you how to separate yourself from the pack. And Big Jut's got on the White Buffalo t-shirt, just got those in. Fixing to go on sale on our website.
Yeah, by May the 1st.
By May 1st, we'll have those up, and very high quality. I would have mine on, but I actually grabbed the wrong size. I thought I had a medium, but I didn't. I had a small. We just ain't going to do that. So anyway, those are on sale, and in the vein of the White Buffalo, I want to talk about something that I'm going to refer to back to the White Buffalo in a little bit. But today I want to talk about adversity university. It is my belief that we realize the character of ourselves, the character of a man or a woman is revealed through not the good times, but through adversity. And we all face adversity. We're filming this at a time when our nation and the world at large is facing a lot of adversity with COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And we find out what we're made of. We find the strength. We see how people come together at times like this. We see how people are there for each other. We see how the government reacts and responds. We see how the stock market reacts and responds. We see the true character of a nation, of a people, of a country. And that's when it comes out. And so John Maxwell, I read a quote by him. I'm a huge John Maxwell fan. If you don't know who he is, I recommend everything he's ever written. But he says one of the major keys to success is to keep moving forward on the journey, making the best of detours and interruptions, turning adversity into advantage. We all face adversity. It's not a matter of if you face adversity, but it's a matter of when you face adversity and how you respond to adversity. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today. Another quote that from Maxwell that he has. He says, "Successful and unsuccessful people do not vary greatly in their abilities, but they vary in their desires to reach their potential." And the reason that's so important is because when adversity comes, our desire to reach our potential has to kick in. We have to desire it more than anything we're going through. We have to have a willingness and a mindset that no matter what comes our way, no matter what kind of adversity, what kind of failure comes, no matter what we face, our desire to win or our desire to succeed overcomes any brick wall that we hit or any adversity that comes toward us.
Well, there's the Robert Schuller quote, "Tough times don't last, but tough people do." And you've seen that a lot lately, especially with what's currently going on in the world. But I mean, it's absolutely the truth. And Todd Saylor, who we'd had on for the past two episodes, had brought up, the fact he wrote one of the quotes from his book down when he signed a copy of the book that he brought for me. And, and bottom line is, and I can't remember exactly the quote with me. I should have the book here in front of me, but what he was stressing is what matters. I mean, what's the most important part is not giving up, the longevity. When you go through tough times, not cowering back, not taking your foot off the pedal, and just continuing to go and to move forward. And that's what's really that's the separator. That's what separates people that achieve consistently. It's one thing to achieve something at once in your life, okay, or a couple of times in your life, but it's a whole nother thing to live your whole life, know what it's like to get knocked down, but get back up again, you know, and to continue to achieve, to continue to consistently win, no matter what's thrown at you, because you're gonna have some lows and you're gonna have some highs, but you can't hit the low and decide to stay there and give up and forfeit your whole destiny and your future, And so we talked about on an episode before, and I've told a lot of people this, but I mean, life's like a bicycle. If you don't keep moving forward, you lose your balance and you're going to wreck. The whole thing's going to tip over with you. And so you have to be able to have the mental strength, the stability. And listen, I've been through things in my life where I didn't feel like I had the mental strength, but I knew that I couldn't quit moving forward. I mean, it's either, I mean, if you fall off the boat in the middle of the ocean, I'm going to swim until I just can't swim no more. I'm not going to say, well, the boat's gone. I'm out here in the middle of the ocean by myself. No, I'm going to fight. It's the innate thing inside of you that makes you want to fight, that makes you want to thrive, that makes you want to survive. And you have to find that. You have to tap into that. But you won't be able to find that or tap into it without knowing your why. Why are you put here? What's your destiny? What's your motivation? And that's why it's so important to get in touch with yourself, to figure out what is it? Why am I put on this earth? What is it that I'm put here to do? How can I do that effectively? What's my mission? What's my purpose? What's my why? Because in those difficult times, when you're going through a life storm or you're going through a difficult situation, the thing that keeps you going is to be able to say, well, listen, I may not know what's going on around me. I may not understand this current circumstances. I don't understand the situation. I don't understand why I'm here, but I know I have purpose and I know why I'm put here. And I know that I have value and I know that I've got to keep moving forward because it's either, it's life or death. And at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to: your success, your achievement, your family, the success of your family, your children, your legacy. It comes down every day to you making a decision. Am I going to sit back and let this situation kill me? Or am I going to rise up, conquer it, defeat it, and continue to move forward and continue to live my life?
Well, it's what you just said about the bicycle. I mean, that holds true so much in life. As long as you keep momentum going, we talk about momentum all the time. John Maxwell calls it the big mo theory. I mean, as long as you can keep the momentum going and always pedal, because there's this fallacy that a lot of people believe that you can get to a certain point in life where you just have to maintain, but it's a myth. You're not maintaining. You're either moving forward or moving backwards. It's impossible. God never created us. The universe doesn't exist for anything to maintain. We're always to be moving forward, always to be taking advantage of momentum. And as long as we're doing that, getting bigger, getting better, faster, and stronger in every area of our life, whether it's business, whether it's our finances, whether it's our marriage, we've got an upper hand. But the moment we try to coast or just maintain a certain lifestyle or certain worth, that maintaining mentality always causes us to when adversity comes, to be taken not only by surprise but off guard. There's a story in the Bible that I like to refer to sometimes about David. It said that it was the season when kings went to war, but David stayed home. He quit fighting, and the moment he quit fighting was when his life started to unravel. If you very scripturally minded, you've heard this story before, but we were created for battle. We were created for war. We were created for adversity, and I believe forged in adversity. And, and then we have a decision to make, and let me back up a little bit and say this about adversity. Adversity comes, and the more you face adversity, is going to be determined by how fast and how hard you pedal, how much you decide and desire to do in life, how far you really want to go. Because if your goals are huge and your goals are set and you have lofty goals, you're going to face some lofty adversity. So get ready, because whatever you decide to bite off in life, you're going to have to chew. And adversity comes the same way. And I remember being in high school, remember playing junior varsity football in the 9th grade. Every day we would finish practice before the varsity team, and we had a practice field on the other side of the school, and we would walk from our practice field past the varsity practice field. And on Wednesdays, the varsity football team would go what they call going live. And the offense and the defense would have a live scrimmage against each other. And our junior varsity boys, we would walk past and we would hear them hit each other. We would hear the tackles and the guards and the linebackers and the fullbacks and the defensive end. We'd hear them collide. It sounded like 10 Mack trucks colliding. And we would look at each other in fear, because we knew we was going to be out there next year if we made it. And we had such a fear of having to get out there and take those hits. And when I was in the 9th grade, I was every bit of 105 45 pounds, soaking wet, little bitty feller, just ruddy and bony. And I would be terrified. I'd stay up at night thinking about how, man, I'm going to quit football this year. Ninth grade ain't so bad, but I ain't getting out there with them boys. And I remember 10th grade came along, and I got out there, and I remember my first live scrimmage. I was playing defense. I was a cornerback, and I was watching the scene. I was watching everything, and I was just praying that they didn't run the ball toward me. I prayed they wouldn't run. Don't run that ball toward me. Scared to death. And I remember the first time they did, I remember a big old fullback come at me and just plowed me. And my defensive backs coach walked up to me. He said, John, you got to at least put up a fight. And I just looked at him. He said, you scared to death, ain't you? I said, no. He said, boy, you're lying. You're scared. I said, I've been scared all year. Last year, we're listening to him hit. He said, it's fine. He said, you smaller than boys. You ain't going to be able to hit as hard as them. But you got to at least learn how to take a hit. Because it's going to come. They're going to run that ball to your side. And if they see you can't take a hit, they can't see you can't even disrupt it a little bit. They see you terrified and fear, they're going to run all over you the rest of the day. It's going to even more and more and more come. And that's kind of how adversity is. Adversity gets bigger and bigger and bigger the less you attack it back, the less you fight it back. And so I learned real quickly that I might get run over by these guys. They might be bigger and faster and stronger, like we talked about on our last podcast. But now they gonna know I hit them. They gonna know I disrupted it, and they gonna have some sense of respect. Even if he's 200 pounds and I'm 145 pounds, I'm gonna face it head on, and I'm gonna take my licks when I take it. But I'm at least gonna give it 100% and go as hard as I can. And I remember 2 or 3, 4 weeks later, the coach coming up to me. And he said, John, you ain't scared no more. I said, no, not really. I ain't scared when they come at me. He said, why ain't you scared? I said, I don't know. I just ain't scared. He said, you ain't scared because you've been hit so many times that you ain't afraid of it no more. And that's how adversity comes, especially in business, life, whatever you do. You get hit enough times and it ain't so bad. Adversity's going to come, but you just got to learn how to deal with it. And don't run from it, because if you run from it or cower away from it, or you're so fearful that you don't face it, and I'm not saying chase adversity, but at least learn to face adversity and face it head on. And it's much smaller. It gets dealt with much quicker, and it's out of your life and on to the next adverse thing that comes a whole lot faster.
People need to stop trying to avoid the pressure. I mean, you're not going to get out of a situation by avoiding it whatsoever. I mean, at some point you have to understand, I've got to get out there. I've got to deal with it. You know, there's irritants in life's going to come, but there's no pearl that comes forth out of an oyster. I mean, that happens because there's an irritant that gets in that shell that causes that oyster to secrete something to try to deal with what came. Okay, in other words, in the oyster's basically taking action, put something around that irritant. That's what creates an actual pearl. That's in the middle of an oyster. You're not going to get the pearls out of life if you're not willing to deal with the irritants. You have to deal with the irritants when they come. No pearl's going to come by cowering back and avoiding them. And that pearl can represent whatever. It can represent, quality relationships, peace in your home. Everything don't have to represent money, but it may represent money for you. It may represent some material things that you've never had that you want, that's going to make your life easier. It may represent financial freedom. It may represent a level of peace in your life because you've always had anxiety, because you've avoided things that you should have faced head on. And so, listen, stop avoiding the pressure. Let the pressure come. Understand that it's part of life, okay? But it's not the load that weighs you, that knocks you down in life and hurts you, but it's how you carry it, okay? And in the gym, I've seen this years. I've been an avid weightlifter for years. I was a competitive power lifter for a little over a decade, about 12 years of my life. And, I've seen some guys come up in the gym some days, big guys, look like they could carry the weight of the world, and come in, sit down and load the bar, but they didn't know how to hold the weight. They didn't have the proper form. They didn't know how to carry it. And I watched a lot of guys tear shoulders and rotator cuffs and knees pop sideways out of joint. I mean, I've seen some stuff over the years from people that come in, And they was a lot of times they was loud and braggadocious when they come in, but they hadn't been properly trained. They hadn't had a mentor. They didn't have somebody to come alongside them and say, listen, this is how you carry that weight. And then I've also seen guys half the size of some of those big guys get in there and be able to lift 2, 3 times the amount of weight because they understood how to make their muscles work, how to have proper form, how to handle that load. So it's not the load that knocks you down in life and weighs you down, but it's simply how you carry it. And you say, well, how do you carry it, Justin? Well, one way to start is by what you're doing right now, listening to this podcast, listening to people that have been through some stuff in life, listening to people that actually have a vested interest that want you to be doing, have more, that have, again, have been through some things. They know how to handle the pressure. Don't mean we're perfect. Listen, I go through some situations sometimes that, I mean, it gets weighty, but I have to say, listen, don't panic, calm yourself, step back, look at the situation, come in, apply the correct technique, the correct mental technique, and yeah, it's weighty. It's weighty. It's not easy to carry, but I know if I get my mind right, if I get my body right, I can take this thing and I can continue to move forward and deal with it until such time that it's handled and it's off of me.
Yeah, and one thing too, I think that we need to keep in mind is not every weight are you designed to carry by yourself. A lot of people out there, they're just afraid to ask for help, or they're afraid to position some of the responsibility to other teammates. Teamwork makes the dream work, and that's a lot of times with adversity. If you got a team around you, solid people, husband and wife, this pertains to you. Don't carry everything on your own. I spend a lot of my time thinking as a man, that's my job to carry all this. You know what? God give you a helper for a reason to help you, and you're a helper, whether you're man, we help each other. But don't carry things that you wasn't meant to carry on your own. Don't carry on your own. Now, there's some weight in life, there's some adversity that's going to come that it's going to be on you, and you're going to have to make it happen, but kind of getting back to the fact that we are developed in adversity. I mean, you think about this. Aaron's here, our producer. He's one of the best photographers I know, and he takes these great pictures. And but you think about pictures; they're developed from negatives. Where in a dark room, and that's how we're developed as people. Our negative traits, our negative qualities are developed to create something beautiful that people can see, something productive that people can be blessed by. A lot of times in dark places, in the midst of adversity, in the midst of rocky roads. I think about one of my favorite movies, the movie with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks has been in the news a lot because of the coronavirus, but he did a movie called Castaway, and it's a very unique movie in the fact that much of the movie was just one character, unless you want to count Wilson, the volleyball, and with very little music during a lot of the scenes. And I remember that movie very vividly because I kind of related to a lot of that movie when it came out, because I spent a lot of my time alone and by myself through that time. And I remember the scene when he's cast away on the island and it's brand new to him, and that island is about to crush him. I mean, it shows a scene in there where he's, contemplating suicide, maybe even tried. I don't remember. It's just the island is just about to defeat him. I remember he's trying to catch a fish, and he's struggling to try to catch food to eat, and then he's trying to build a fire, and he just can't get it. And then it shows a breakthrough moment in his life, in the life of that character, where he gets fire. He has a small victory in the midst of all this adversity, being shipwrecked at sea, away from his wife, away from his everybody, and he's all alone and all by himself. And this island and all this adversity is just about to crush him. And then all of a sudden, he has a small victory. He gets a fire going, and he dances around that fire. I made fire, fire, fire. And it's just a real climactical point in the movie. And then the scene switches, and you just see a spear come through the air and go right through a fish at about 30 yards. And he's standing there, shirt off, beard full, hair all matted up and dreadlocked, and he just looks like this fierce still. And what you realize at that moment is that the island didn't defeat him. He defeated the island. And now he's just a badass out there throwing a spear from 30 yards, hitting a fish, because he has become he's been formed and created something new. He's learned things about himself. He's found abilities he didn't even know he has. And the man that was shipwrecked on the island now all of a sudden runs the island, is the king of the island, and he's defeated that island. The island didn't defeat him, he defeated it. And that's how adversity is. That's when we develop as a person. That's when we develop as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a husband, as a wife, as an athlete, whatever it is, through those adverse times. And that was my favorite part of that movie. And I realized that in life, it's the same way. A lot of the things that were sent to defeat me. I mean, you and I both, we've been through divorces. We've been through failed marriages, failed, this and that. I've had so many failures, it would take 10 podcasts just to go through them. But I look back on all those failures and I see where I came out a little bit better. Now, I come out of some of them not better immediately, but over time got better. And I tell you, honestly, I don't think I take anything for the adversity, because I learned more from the adversity than the victory. I mean, than the good times. So, if the island don't defeat us and we defeat the island, we come out a totally different person.
Well, and for those of you that's listening today, I mean, it's just, you got to understand. I heard a story the other day where a guy was talking about in high school. You know, he was bigger than this one guy, little old lanky guy, just looked like skin and bones. I mean, didn't have a whole lot of muscle on him. Definitely wasn't one of the biggest guys in the school. But this guy was a scrapper. I mean, he didn't cower away. He didn't back down from a fight of any kind. And the thing was, he always ended up just cold cocking them. I mean, just laying them out. The fight didn't go on long. And this guy was in his talking about in his local school. I mean, this little skinny guy was legendary, and the whole 4 years of high school. And so he finally was in a situation where he was able to talk to the guy one day, and that, because he was dealing with some own insecurities, this guy's own self, because he's bigger than the guy that's dealing with it, but he's kind of being bullied by some people, things going on. He's timid, he's got some fear, and he just kind of, if he knows them people that was bullying him is going to be in a certain area, he's just completely avoiding that area and situation altogether, and really just living his life in fear. So he sat down and was able to run into this guy one day and just stopped him and said, "Man," he said, "Oh, what? I'm bigger than you are. I've got my butt kicked I don't know how many times, scared to death to even get around these people that keep bullying me and, threatening me." And he he said, "Well, let me tell you something." He said, you know, "You ain't got no muscles in your nose." And then people that I'm fighting, they, I realized a long time ago, they ain't got no muscles right here. They ain't got no muscles in their nose. And it might take me a little while, but I'm going to connect with
I
that
like
part that
that.
there ain't no muscle, and that's what you got to understand with whatever, there's an area of whatever you're fighting that it ain't got no muscle in, and you will defeat the thing. You'll take it down. It might take you a few times to get that draw back and get that knuckle sandwich lined in where it needs to go. But if you don't cower down, if you don't give up, if you keep moving forward, you're going to take out that adversity in your life. That opponent's going to be taken out. This COVID-19 mess we fighting is going to be taken out. Your financial situation will be taken out. You're going to be able to hit it right in the nose where there ain't no muscle, it ain't got no way to fight back, and you'll cold cock the thing. The relational issues you're dealing with, if you just keep drawing back, keep swinging, keep punching, you're going to hit it right in the magic spot, right where it needs to be to take that Goliath and that thing down. I mean, you think about the story of David and Goliath in the Bible, couldn't nobody handle him. He's a
That's right.
giant. But the keeping on swinging and keeping on slinging them rocks, okay? And taking that sling, and with each round getting better and better and more accurate. Eventually, he hit that giant right where it needed to be, where that giant didn't have no muscle. And so that's the message today, is not giving up and continuing to move forward. And let me tell you something, you don't even have to know. I don't even believe that you have to know exactly where you're headed. You're going to get a lot farther. If you're moving forward, you're at least further than you was, and you can correct this. Just basic principle that you're taking massive action, and that affects your mental state, that puts you in new places, in new territories, in new environments, around new people that are going to be key in your life to help you get where you need to go. Maybe you took a wrong road, but maybe you meet somebody on that road where you've been riding that bicycle that's got a jet and says, let me put you in my jet. And we're going to get you there twice as fast. And it's going to make up for all the hours you spent going down the wrong path. But you come in contact with that person with them resources that owns that jet because you didn't quit. If you'd have stopped way back yonder, to use a South Georgia term, at the crossing in the road and just sat there and kicked rocks, you wouldn't be where you're at now, meeting this person, having this relationship. The important thing is to continue to move forward. You continue to fight, and you don't give up. And so uh, that's the biggest thing. I just know I've encountered a lot of people that during this pandemic and this virus situation that I'm talking to, man, what you doing during this time? How are you working on yourself? You can't control this pandemic, but you can control yourself. You can control your personal development, how you handle it. And it's distressing the amount of people that you're talking to that's literally sitting back and doing nothing. I mean, it's just, to me, it's mind boggling. But just don't be one of them people as you're listening to this, and continue to fight, continue to move forward, and you'll come out victorious on the other side of it without a doubt.
And pivot, that's the big word. You can't do so much we can't do right now. It's like um, Clint asked me this morning, who's in the office, and he said, "What you doing to stay in shape now that you can't go to the gym?" I said, "Well, I got enough weights in my garage. I can do deadlifts, I can do squats, I can do this, that, and I'm just doing what I can do until I can do more. But I'm not going to stop. I'm going to change my methods a little bit. I'm walking more, I'm running more, I'm eating a little bit cleaner because I got to. I can't work it off in the gym, and I might gain a few pounds. I might not be quite as lean as I was when this whole thing started, but I ain't gonna quit. I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep doing what I can. If I got to do push-ups and sit-ups like Herschel Walker did, I'm gonna do what I got to do. And one thing's this, and I'll hush after this, but adversity's like everything else. Just like what we're dealing with the coronavirus, this pandemic and all, it's seasonal. If you can just get through the season of adversity, the season of blessing comes again. But just get ready, because once that season of blessing, you're gonna enjoy that for a while. I got a Japanese maple tree in my backyard, and I planted it 4 years ago. I remember going to the store, buying it, planting it, and planted it just like you were supposed to, and positioned it for the right amount of sunlight and everything. And that tree looks about the same as it did when I planted it. It ain't grew much. And every year, my wife, your sister, lets me know that my tree has died. Every year, she say, "That tree's dead, John." And I'll look at it, and I promise you, it looks dead. But when the seasons change, about this time of the year, sun starts getting a little bit warmer, the rain starts falling a little bit more often, that tree will give me one little bloom. And instead of having an old dead, crusty leaf that's falling off, I'll see one little red bloom. And I always look at her. I say, "That tree you've been saying's dead for the last 6 months. Look at that little bloom on it." She said, "One little bloom. What's that mean?" "Give it 10 days." And that's how quick that tree, you can look at it, have one little bloom on it. You come back 10 days later, and it's just filled with beautiful red maple leaves. And now it don't stay that way. But when the season changes and everything lines up, you can see that, hey, it's still alive, it's still blooming, it's still healthy. And if we give it enough time, it's going to be one of the most beautiful trees in our entire yard.
Well, I just wanted to tell everybody, something I learned recently. We're getting ready to end this podcast today, but now there's a saying in the Navy. The Navy has a lot of people that own yachts. I've heard them say before, and it's kind of sailors and kind of in that whole space, and you'll see a lot of people that's been in the military have this actually tattooed on them, but hold fast, stay true. Hold fast, stay true. What's that mean? Well, in the middle of a storm, that's what they train them sailors to do. You grab something and you hold fast to it. You stay on the ship that you own. on the journey that you had a reason and a purpose and a destiny. When you got on that ship, you got on that ship for a reason. Storms is going to come. Don't let life's waves and life's problems wash you off and catapult you off of what you're supposed to be on and where you know you're supposed to be, because the sun's going to shine again. It's going to be smooth sailing again. So you hold fast and then you stay true, meaning you do to the best of your ability, you stay on course.
That's
You
right.
keep the nose of that ship going the direction it's supposed to go, because the storms don't last. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. So if there's anything we can tell you today, we want you to know to hold fast and stay true. Stay on the ship. Stay on your purpose. Stay on your mission. This too shall pass, and you'll live to see bright, shiny days again. We want to encourage you to share the podcast. Let your friends and family know, if people, somebody you may know that's been maybe not been in the best mental state during all this. It's affected them. It's got them down. Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe they're furloughed. Maybe they're just uncertain what's going to go on at all right now. Listen, this would be a great time to send them some positivity. And we know you'll do that. Be sure to subscribe on all podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. And we're going to keep bringing you great content right here on Separation Nation.